Governor wrapped up his State of the State remarks a couple of hours ago now, speaking passionately about Minnesota's current state of affairs from Owatonna High School. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Brock Burgee.
And I'm Caitlin Alexander. The governor got a hands-on look at the brand new high school ahead of the night's address. Built last year, the high school contains several state-of-the-art facilities that aim to focus on workforce development at an early age. Walz used the high school as a jumping-off point for his speech, explaining the importance of making investments in the future when the time is right. Immediately after his remarks, legislative leaders from both the DFL and GOP responded to Walz's speech outside the high school auditorium. That's where we find KTTC's Quinn Gorham tonight. Quinn, tell us everything you heard.
That's right. It's been an eventful evening here in Owatonna, to say the very least. All kicked off by Governor Walz himself making those remarks earlier this afternoon. He highlighted a lot of the work that was done in last year's legislature, work done by lawmakers behind the scenes, and depending on who you ask, work that has a lot of varying opinions on it. We heard from lawmakers and the governor himself today, the many people behind all of that legislation that was passed last year. Take a look.
But every once in a while, you get an opportunity to make a whole lot of progress in a short amount of time. It happened here in Owatonna in 2019, and after a half century of waiting, it happened again in St. Paul in 2023.
Passion and pride. Two words that clearly describe the way Governor Tim Walz views the work his legislature has done since the DFL took control. That fact more evident than ever in Tuesday's State of the State address.
I couldn't be more proud of the work that we've done together in this window of opportunity to improve education inside the walls of this school and in every school across the state.
Walz highlighted the policies that legislature made last year with a record-breaking budget surplus, investments in child care, education, public safety, voting rights, and more.
We are happy to have private sector investment dollars here, and we're happy to have brilliant young people moving in from other states.
But that's all policy from last year. There are 8 weeks left to go in this legislative session, a timeline that Walz says he hopes to fill with policy on reproductive health care access, bonding, and gun control legislation.
When you come into high school, you should be worried about pop quizzes and prom dates, not mass shootings. And that's why, as governor, I've made it a point to move towards responsible gun ownership and take the NRA on these issues.
DFL leadership stood firmly behind the governor's remarks.
The thing I loved best about the speech was the hopefulness of it. And if we're not thinking every day about how we're building a future for our communities, our families, and the kids to come, we're not doing it right. Minnesota.
But Republicans painted a more critical picture.
In addition to that $18 billion of surplus that is now gone, taxes and fees, our state budget was raised by another $10 billion. We grew government in a way that is unsustainable.
But Walz adamant about the future of the state.
Join me in dreaming about the futures that will be built right here. Thank you. May God bless each and every one of you, and may God bless the state of Minnesota.
Walz's comments come right on the heels of the announcement of the state's newest budget targets which paint a picture of a much more dialed-back approach to the state's budget appropriations. We do expect to see things like investments in rural EMS and further investments in the child tax credit, but those are some much more conservative approaches to the state's budget this year as opposed to last.